Hello, Todd Long here, Home Advantage Partners, homeadvantagepartners.com, Keller Williams, Lake Norman. So, today is actually a public service announcement about agency. Alright, so the public service announcement about agency. The reason I'm bringing this up is I had a conversation with a buyer that we were going to look at some houses, and we were actually having the conversation about buyer's agency and me representing them, and they made the comment that they had talked to agents in the past and had never signed or heard about buyer's agency. So my public service announcement is to everyone to let them know that in North Carolina there are two different types of agency. Your agent, a real estate agent that is talking to you about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, is either representing the seller or they are representing the buyer. There's a form called the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure that any agent that you talk to and you have a significant contact with, significant contact being you're talking about finances, you're actually going out to see a home, that would be a significant contact. Any agent that you come in significant contact with must go over the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure with you. It is a North Carolina law. They are required to do it by law. So if you haven't seen a Working with Real Estate Agents brochure before, when you've worked with an agent, they're breaking the law. First of all, so any agent, any buyer that I work with, we always go over the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure. The first thing that you should know about the Working Real Estate Agents brochure is it says there is a seller, and there's a seller's agent, and there is a buyer, and can be a buyer's agent. And then sometimes there's dual agency. That means that the firm or the agent is representing both the seller and the buyer. But if you're a buyer and you have an agent with you, when they open that door and walk you through that door, they either represent the seller or they represent you, the buyer. And if the words have not come out of that buyer's agent's mouth saying, do you want me to represent you as your agent? If those words haven't come out of their mouth and you haven't said, yes, I want you to represent me as my buyer's agent. If that hasn't happened, in North Carolina, they represent the seller. Therefore, anything they find out about you, they must tell the seller. They must provide that information to the seller. There's no such thing in North Carolina as a transaction agent. There might be in the future, but right now an agent either represents the seller or they represent the buyer, or they could represent both in dual agency. So I tell you that to say that if you work with me, we're going to have a conversation about me representing you as your buyer's agent. And we're going to put that in writing so that we both are very clear about how buyer's agency works and the fiduciary responsibility I have to you, which is to protect your interest and not the seller's interest. That is my public service announcement for the day. Todd Long, Keller Williams, 704-360-0667. If you are thinking about buying a home, I strongly encourage you to get a professional to represent you. I would strongly encourage you to call us to represent you. And most of the time, whenever we represent you as a buyer's agent, the seller actually pays for our fee. Now, you're going to get to pay when you sell your property, and we're going to compensate the buyer's agent for bringing us the buyer. But in North Carolina, most of the time, when we represent a buyer, you actually get that representation paid for by the seller. So there's no actual monetary concern for you doing this, but it is a protection of interest for you to have somebody representing you that is a professional in real estate to protect your interest. Again, Todd Long, Keller Williams, 704-360-0667. Here's to happy buying of homes.